Hey, it's KW back again for another legal moment. This time I'd like to discuss four senators who supposedly sold stock, or actually did sell stock, in the wake of this coronavirus outbreak, knowing that these markets were about to collapse. Now, four senators sold stock shortly after a January briefing in the Senate on the coronavirus outbreak, unloading shares that plummeted in value a month later as the stock market crashed in the face of a global pandemic. According to financial disclosure forms, Senators Kelly Loeffler, a Republican from Georgia, Jason Holfe, a Republican from Oklahoma, Dianne Feinstein, Democrat from California, and Richard Burr, a Republican from North Carolina, each sold hundreds of thousands of dollars in stock within days of the Senate holding a classified briefing. That briefing was held on January 24th with Trump administration officials on the threat of the coronavirus outbreak. Now, these sales raised questions about whether the senators violated the Stock Act, a law that bans members of Congress from making financial trades based on non-public information. How much money are we talking about? Loeffler and her husband, who was chairman of the New York Stock Exchange, of all things, so he already had the information. In fact, he might have been giving the information to the government officials, for all we know. They sold at least $355,000 in stocks from January 24th to 31st, a 7-day period. Those are all records in the Senate. The senator and her husband also sold almost $900,000 worth in stocks from February 5th to the 14th, just days after the first confirmed coronavirus cases emerged in the U.S., but nearly 2 weeks before community spread of the disease was confirmed within the country. So we're looking at least $1.2 million in sales. Probably saved her and her husband from steep losses they would have incurred after the stock market's crash began February 21st. Loeffler said in a pair of tweets that she doesn't control her and her husband's financial assets and was informed of the sales on February 16th. She says, "This is a ridiculous and baseless attack. I do not make investment decisions for my portfolio. Investment decisions are made by multiple third-party advisors without my or my husband's knowledge or involvement." Now, excuse me for being a bit cynical, but your husband is the president of the New York Stock Exchange. Let that sink in, viewers. Now, in Holfe sold about $180,000, maybe $200,000 in stocks on January 27th, which is just a few days after the coronavirus briefing. In fact, 3 days later, since the briefing was held on the 24th. He also sold another $50,000 in stocks to an asset management company on February 20th, 4 days before the crash. And Holfe did say in a statement that he did not attend the Senate coronavirus briefing on January 24th, and instead met with children from Oklahoma who were in Washington, D.C. for the annual March for Life, and with the nominee to be the United States ambassador to Tanzania. He also says he does not have any involvement in investment decisions and instructed his financial advisor in December 2018 to begin selling all of his stock holdings 2 months after he was elected chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee. Now, to be fair to him, his financial disclosures do show a steady stream of stock sales throughout 2019 and into early 2020, which is way before the coronavirus outbreak actually happened. How much more did these sales ramp up after the outbreak? Those are for investigators to decide. Now, Senator Burr filed a financial disclosure form for personal transactions made several weeks before the U.S. and financial markets showed signs of volatility due to the growing coronavirus outbreak. A spokesman for Burr actually told the ProPublica regarding the stock sales. Selling stocks before markets show signs of falling typically save an investor from financial losses. We know that. Burr actually asked the Senate Ethics Committee to investigate his stock sales, which he said were based on CNBC coverage of the coronavirus in Asia in mid-February. He has come under further scrutiny after NPR reported this week that the senator compared the coronavirus outbreak to the 1918 influenza pandemic during a private February 27th luncheon in Washington, D.C. Now, at least one Democratic senator I mentioned also unloaded stock before the scale of the crisis became clear to the general public. Feinstein, one of the longest tenured Senate Democrats, sold at least $500,000 in shares of Allogene Therapeutics, a California biotechnology company, on January 31st, and at least $1 million in Allogene stock on February 18th, according to Senate records. It's a lot of money. Now, a spokesman for Feinstein did tell the New York Times that she had nothing to do with the decisions to sell her stocks. All of Senator's assets are in a blind trust, said Tom Metzner. She has no involvement in her husband's financial decisions. Did she benefit from them even if she had no involvement? Well, I'm sure she did. So what do you think? Put down your thoughts in the comments below. And I'll see you for the next moment.